HMRC doesn't hide things from you. It's just sometimes you don't understand about how the system works, and the less that you understand about how the system works, the easier it is for you to fall into it. I speak to directors every single day who are intelligent, they're experienced, they're commercially sharp people. And yet when it comes to HMRC, they guess, they delay, they panic. It's not because they're careless, it's because nobody has ever explained to them how HMRC really operate. Now, if you misunderstand HMRC, you escalate your business. You create personal risk. You can lose leverage when you're talking to them. And you're going to make decisions that might trap you and your company. And the system doesn't need to mislead you. It just needs you to misunderstand it. Now, HMRC, they're not emotional, right? This is the first thing that directors get wrong. HMRC isn't a person. They're not angry. They're not vindictive. They're not out to get you. It's procedural. They follow data, behaviour, patterns, compliance history. And once your behaviour hits a certain threshold, the machine moves. And it's not because they don't like you. It's because the system is built that way to flag you. Now, HMRC won't wake up today and decide who to chase. You, as a director, trigger escalation. And most directors don't realise they're actually triggering it. And the biggest misunderstanding people have, I think, is time. This is the bit that, like, directors aren't grasping properly. They think if I ignore this, I'll buy time. You don't. You ignore something, you convert yourself from a compliant director who's struggling into a non-engaging and high-risk director. The rules of 2 years ago don't exist in 2026. That's what I want to hammer home to you. Like in the past, you could just keep kicking the revenue down the line, give them a little bit, hopefully they won't do anything. That's changed. There is an escalation pattern, and this is how it works. You're going to get a late payment. You're going to get a reminder, you're going to get a strong letter, you're going to get debt management, you're going to get an escalation flag, you're going to get an enforcement review. And it doesn't feel dramatic while it's happening. But behind the scenes, your risk profile is just going... Now, HMRC don't explain this because they don't need to. The system isn't designed to coach directors out there what to look for. It's designed to collect money. That's their job. Get money in for the government. And I tell you, there is a big thing that directors are not understanding at the moment until it's too late. And it's like the director's loan account trap. Directors think it's my company, I'll sort it money, I'll take money as and when I see fit. HMRC sees it as personal benefit, tax risks, potential S455 charges, possible personal exposure. And here's what directors miss. Once your director's loan account crosses certain levels and it overlaps with tax arrears and it coincides with insolvency, it stops being flexible and it's now evidence. Now, why this matters is HMRC doesn't need to accuse you of wrongdoing. They just need to see numbers, patterns, inconsistencies, apologies, my phone's just gone off. And once they do, escalation becomes automatic. Now, HMRC's real power is information today. They don't rely on intuition, gossip, guesswork. They can now rely on cross-reference data. There's connected filings, behaviour tracking. There's insolvency records of previous insolvencies. And when you delay your VAT, you miss your PAYE, your director's loan account's getting out of control, you're failing time to pay arrangements. It builds a pattern. And that pattern is what drives the audits on your business. You don't get investigated because you're a bad director. You're being investigated because you look statistically risky. Now, what HMRC doesn't tell you about control, I mean, directors think once HMRC is involved, I've lost control. That's not true. You lose control when you delay too long. You react emotionally, you panic pay, you sign PGs, you drain the company bank accounts. But early structured engagement preserves leverage. Late emotional decisions will destroy it. And what perhaps they don't want you to understand is, and this is the point of this video, HMRC doesn't need you confused. But sometimes the system might work better when you are. Because confused directors will delay, they'll overpromise, they'll make inconsistent filings, they'll contradict themselves. And that'll widen an investigation. If you understand the system, it reduces escalation and it helps you preserve leverage when you're negotiating. It can protect you personally. So what you've got to do differently, right? First of all, know your numbers. You know, be up to date with stuff. File stuff, even if you can't pay it on time. Please, please don't agree to unrealistic time to pay arrangements. A time to pay is a really handy tool for a business that's struggling. But it's only handy if it's realistic. Stop creating personal exposure trying to survive. If your business is not going to survive, stop signing personal guarantees. And you've got to get advice before all this escalates. You know, the sooner you can get clarity on how your business is, the more options that you've got. You know, maybe your business is struggling financially in the short term, but a well thought out time to pay arrangement may give you 3 years to get back on top with HMRC. Bearing in mind, if you go into a time to pay arrangement, you are going to have to make sure that you keep up to date with all your other HMRC bills. So paying corporation tax on time, paying VAT on time, paying PAYE on time. And you've got to make sure you pay your time to pay arrangement when you say you do. Because if you miss just one payment, it defaults. You just go down the escalation process, okay? Sometimes you need stuff that's a bit more formal. Maybe you've got a really good business, but you can't survive the short-term cash flow problems. Something's happened, but you want to stay in control, you want to pay everyone off. You could consider a company voluntary arrangement. It's a CVA. And that's a formal insolvency tool that allows you to restructure arrears with HMRC over a longer period of time, generally 5 years. Now in a CVA, it's not as simple as people make out. You've got to get 75% of your creditors to approve the CVA via, when I say 75%, 75% of debt levels. And sometimes if you fail repeated time to pay arrangements, HMRC won't support a CVA because you've lost all the goodwill. Sometimes your business isn't going to survive despite your best efforts. And then you might need to consider, well, what options have I got? Have I had enough and I just want to stop things getting worse for creditors? I'm going to go into liquidation. And you put the business through a voluntary liquidation. You find an insolvency practitioner, they get appointed, they wind the business up in an orderly fashion. If there's any assets, they sell the assets to try and realise some cash for creditors. And you walk away, you draw a line in the sand. Sometimes an administration is about an insolvency process, and that's seen for me as more of a rescue process. Your business goes into administration, there's a wall of protection around you, including that from HMRC. And in most cases, you can actually buy the good parts of the business back, and it can be pre-agreed. It's called a pre-pack administration. Now, if you don't do anything, you're going to get wound up. That's a compulsory liquidation. You must avoid this like the plague. Because HMRC won't wait anymore. And if you've failed time to pay arrangements, you're not engaging, they will issue a winding up petition at court. It'll land, in fact, it won't land on you. The first you'll hear about this winding up petition is people ringing you saying they can help you, and you'll be getting emails and cold marketing. But then it'll be delivered on your doorstep. And that's the end of the road, really. You know, winding up petitions presented by HMRC, you've got a day in court and either you pay what's due or they wind you up and the official receiver will investigate. And the first thing the official receiver is going to suggest is you've not behaved properly as a director. Because remember what we said at the start of the video, once you become insolvent, your duties change. So I'm going to wrap the video up. HMRC are not out to trap you. You are trapping yourself when you misunderstand how the system works. You're relying on old assumptions. Directors who suffer, most aren't criminals, they're confused. Now the only way to get out of confusion is some clarity. And if you're a UK director under pressure from HMRC, stop guessing. Speak to us at Director First. We'll tell you where you really stand, what risks exist, and how to move forward before things escalate. There is always a solution. but only if you understand things properly. Now, I've mentioned a time to pay arrangement, really handy tool for people, and one that's very misunderstood. I want you to go over here and to watch this video that will explain everything around time to pay arrangements. What you can do, what you can't do, how you can set them up so that they're designed to work and not fail. Thanks for your time. Chris Worden, Director First.